morning. My name is Behnam. I'm Creative Director of Design for Future and also the blog Design for UX. What I'm going to talk today is 6 UX design trends in 2013. The sixth one that I'm going to talk about is the skeuomorphic design versus flat design, multi-device design, using videos, using large background photos, applying visual storytelling, and creating persona and typography. Of course, these 6 are not what are important in 2013 UX design trends. There are, in this infographic, you see all other important things that unfortunately I don't have time to go over it. So you're welcome to go to the source and take a look at it more. But the first thing is skeuomorphic design versus flat design. Pretty much, I think most of you know what is a skeuomorphic. Digital skeuomorphism involves taking characteristics from the real-life object and applying them to the digital interface, and basically because to create more sense of familiarity. And this is what we have been witnessing in the last couple of years, especially in the Apple interface, that whatever we see on those platforms, like if we want to see a calendar, we see a letter, we see a threading, the stitching thread on the top, or if we want to have a calculator, the buttons are pretty much exactly the same as the real life, or other things that we want to see. But now there's an argument against that. I think this is pretty much like the beginning of the 20th century when the minimalist movement starting in architecture as a backlash against the ornamental architecture as a previous architecture design. And now I see the flat design is pretty much the backlash for ornamented website that we have seen in the last couple of years. The motto that they used to have it on the early 20th century, that form follows function, now is design follow functions, and less is more. So we are really into simplicity and minimalism. But what is a flat design? In practical terms, a flat design means designing without gradient, without shadow, without embossing, or any ornament that kind of makes it a little bit more noise in it. We are dealing with the 2D, two-dimensional design that, even though we are using gradient, is as minimal to show what is objects all about. Or as we see on some websites, using a lot of white space, less colors, and also, as you see again, flat design that are involved. So most of you know that Windows 8 is basically a pioneer in this flat design and has been very successful in turning this trend. Okay, for next project, which one we should use, flat or skeuomorphic? Whatever you're going to use, you have to know that user interface is about planning. Of course, flat design simply makes it easier because it cuts the clutter and make a connection between design and function. But it's really about your target market. If your target market really needs to see a calendar exactly like a real life to get connection, you should use it more. Or if you're designing for a younger generation that they are growing up with tablets and mobile, for them there's no need to have a button with the drop shadow and bevel because they already know what that means. Tips that can help you for better user interface, doesn't matter it's flat or skeuomorphic, is contrast. Clickable area needs to have more contrast from the areas that are not clickable, and this contrast can be, it can be done with color, with positioning, and also with style. Layout, using grid-based, especially layouts like 960 GS, is a very good way to establish a visual guidance, especially that it can create a ratio and that present a great way for a visual balance. Hierarchy. Of course, as general rule, what's more important should be more visible from what is not important. And we talked about target audience. For different target audience, you have to make sure which form of design you have to provide, flat or skeuomorphic. But if you want to mix it, you have to make sure it's going to be kind of very professional, because then the result probably is not going to be good. Removing frictions. In general, when users want to use your site, you have to make it as easy as you can to get to the goal. But when they get to the goal, it's always good to offer more. Either if they're looking for searching more or providing other read more or further search or links, or also provide them with some other goals that they want, other ventures that they want to go further. Some people are against wireframing, but I think it still is needed, even though if you want to put some case studies, you should have the wireframing first. Second thing, multi-device design. In 2013, we see the abandoning of device-specific web design. As Eric Meyer, the consultant and author, says, it's not just desktop versus mobile anymore. It's desktop and mobile and couch and TV and more. Web designers and developers will be more about system design rather than static mock-up design, because we see different screens and different devices are coming up in market, and we have to make sure we are designing for that. One of the tools that help us to design for different screens is SWD design or Scalable Web Design. Scalable Web Design is methodology for designing websites that capable for different screen for both and low, high and low high densities, pixel densities. It's a collection of ideas, is technology, web standards which help users to view your site in cross-platform. One of the items, one of the tools is SVG, Scalable Vector Graphics, rather than using rasters images, because it helps you to scale it and without losing any details. Other items that help for designing for scalable web design is modularity. That makes updating a lot easier. Like stay away from inline CSS or JavaScript, or using cross-browser OS resolution compatibility to achieve maximum coverage, and that will lower the bounce back when people go to the mobile devices to see your web or app, your website. Using cloud-based hosting, using customizable design so you can add more or for your site later. Adding fresh content, of course, it's a very important part, which unfortunately I don't have time to talk about it. Presenting better and pleasant user interface, and of course, leveraging and integrating social network in 2013 is definitely going to rise. Number 4 is using videos. We have been witnessing that videos is growing the last couple years. We will see the growth of it more in 2013. Number 1, because of the speed of internet, is going to be higher for mobile devices. And second, I think the Adobe Creative Suite subscription help a lot of people to get access to video editing software that is more professional and help them to provide it in their mobile and web. Using background images. Normally in most of the sites and apps, background is a dead space, and people use it with solid color or pattern, which recently we see people engage it better. For example, by adding photos, or as you see below, I have a couple of one of these, and I have an example of it in my blog, that you can use one large image. You can repeat one, you can tile it, you can use illustration, you can incorporate video with interaction or without interaction, or even incorporating foreground and background and create a visual channel. I want to have a sample of the last one, that how the background and foreground can create a visual channel. The truck that you see on the background of this site is a background. The branding is in foreground, but you really don't know which one is a background, which one is a foreground. And so this channel kind of helped a lot to using this dead background for users to engage more. Or for this one, as soon as you enter the site, the nice background, the large photo for the background help users to get in touch or feel what this site's all about. The number 5 is visual storytelling and creating persona. Web and mobile are excellent platform to present a subject as a visual story. And because with a visual story, you can engage customers more. Visual story is not only about the contents. You have to have a great content as a story, but there are other tools that can help you to implement it better. For example, using of a navigation. Using parallel or vertical navigation helps a lot to creating this visual story. I'm going to show you 2 samples. Using gesture, study how gesture can be incorporated in your visual story and getting the best out of the mobile technology and creating new user experience, exploring device sensor, and experimentally widely the touch-enabled interface. Also, in many sites, you see how data can turn to a persona, and again, it's easier for users to get connected. One of the samples for vertical storytelling is when you scroll down, you see how the background changes and how you basically go through with the story that the designer wants to talk about it, or talking about the creating persona. This is one sample, or this is another one that, again, it's a very good starting point to engaging user to get into and experiment in your site. One of the sites I really want you to go take a look at it later on, this fracturing site that with this nice illustration, with this nice scrolling, very heavy data is presenting to users with a nice way and also very entertaining format. The last one is typography. Typography has been popular, and it was in a list of last year or previous years. But this year, we see because of the last 2 years, we see because of the web fonts, we can use, we have a lot of pretty websites that they have been focusing on typography, and they are nicely done. Unlike before, we are not using JPEG, GIFs, or PNG for resizing the font, so they can easily fly to fit to any screen. And that helps us to use this option much more. For example, this one is one of those beautiful typography that use a web font, or even though they've used the JavaScript and also the font changes, try it, this is a beautiful site. And even though here there is no photo or background or anything, just using fonts is very pleasant and nice. Well, I guess my time is up, and feel free if you have any questions or contact me, but thank you so much.
Excellent.